Joining us right now, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor and author of Understanding Trump, Newt Gingrich is with us. Speaker Gingrich, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's good to be with you.
First up, sir, your reaction to all of this.
Pretty wild period.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Well, look, I think the most accurate parallel is Arthur Miller's great play, The Crucible, about the Salem witchcraft trials. What we know is the elite media wakes up in the morning and knows Donald Trump did something horrible overnight. I wonder what it was. So take this case. Clearly, and Donald Trump Jr. admits it himself, it was not very smart to take this. He was a real estate guy. He wasn't politically savvy. So he has a chance to sit down and talk to somebody who says there's something that can beat Hillary. Now let's look at the facts. The Kremlin says they have no tie to this. I've written 3 novels about terrorism and spy agencies, etc. She didn't have anything for him. If this was a setup, they would have had some cool thing that he could have taken away. They could have brought him in and drawn him in. She had nothing. I think it's pretty clear if you look at the entire story that they got him to meet so they could talk about adoption law and trying to change the adoption law. They used phony pretenses. He shouldn't have taken the meeting. But to suggest that this is going to rise to some criminal case requires, I think, totally rewriting American law. We have this extraordinary double standard where the Clintons take millions of dollars while Secretary Clinton is okaying the Russians getting uranium. Bill Clinton gets $500,000 for a speech from a Russian bank. John Podesta's brother is the registered agent for a Russian bank. There are all sorts of connections and ties. None of those, of course, matter because, after all, they're the Clintons, and they clearly would not do anything bad. Then you get this weird story, which, by the way, in response to what Gowdy said, this surfaced because Jared Kushner went back, re-examined everything, and it's Kushner who filed the report and said, oh, yeah, there was this weird meeting. Now, I think they had forgotten it, frankly, because the meeting was to quote Reince Priebus on Sunday, the meeting was a nothing burger. I mean, nothing happened there. Apparently, Manafort was on his cell phone most of the meeting. Jared got up and discussed and left about 7 minutes into the meeting. And as a courtesy, Don allowed the meeting to run on while she talked about adoption law. But to take that and turn it into a national scandal for 3 days, I think is an example of the media being, frankly, on the edge of a pathology. Well,
the fact is that it just continues, right, Newt? I mean, is this a distraction for the agenda? Sure. Lawmakers are working on overhauling health care.
Of course.
Tax reform is hanging in the balance. Here's what House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy told me yesterday when he joined us on the program. Listen to this.
Once they finish health, then we'll have the mechanism for reconciliation, because all of this stems because the Senate continues to wait for this 60-vote rule that is not in the Constitution. A lot of these would not be a problem if the Senate simply worked by and used the majority they have to pass the current bills that we have sent over there.
But you have to believe that this Russia noise is impacting the agenda. I mean, you recently penned an article saying that Republicans should start planning deep tax cuts now, as their survival for the 2018 elections depend on it. Why do you think this is the case? And isn't this the whole agenda of the left anyway? I mean, Chuck Schumer doesn't want the agenda to get executed. He wants to stop Trump at every turn.
Look, I think one of the things that President Trump has not come to grips with is he won the Republican nomination in a hostile takeover. He beat 16 other people. He's a true outsider. Then he beats Hillary Clinton in a hostile takeover, and he takes on the Clinton campaign at $1 billion, Hillary and Bill, and he takes on the elite media. So now he's in a city where the bureaucracy overwhelmingly voted against him. In the State Department, 99% of the donations went to Clinton. In the Justice Department, 97% of the donations went to Clinton. So he has the bureaucrats against him, the news media against him, the Democrats against him, and a substantial number of Republicans hoping he fails. And he's got to just relax and say for the next 8 years, he's going to be in an unending conflict in which all sorts of people try to stop him. Now, the way you win that conflict is you pick a handful of really big victories. One of them would be a very simple, very clean tax cut, 15% corporate rate, very substantial middle-class tax cut, repatriation of overseas money, no tax increases, nothing complicated. You drive it home for all of August. You talk about economic growth and jobs. The American people decide that's what they want. Let the American people put pressure on Congress. The president should arouse the country. All of his cabinet officers should go out and give 3 or 4 speeches in August. He should barnstorm the country on behalf of jobs and economic growth, demand they pass the bill in September, and no later than Thanksgiving have a signing ceremony, make it retroactive to January 1. The economy goes booming. The country thinks the New York Times and Washington Post are stupid, and we go on happily to have a Republican success in 18 and 20. That's what I would recommend.